Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, he ordained and knew me, ransomed me, and placed his words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, his beloved son. And by his word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give him the stage, because he knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fear, I speak truth. I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, watering every dry place as I flow to the notes that heaven navigates. Let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell his story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. He opens up to me and shows me his glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth, for him I'm roaring. And the Spirit of the Lord goes before me, to the captive set free, that's reassuring. Over the years he strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit I'm sure I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction, I am his ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell the story as I bask in the truth of his word before me.
Hey, gang, welcome to Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing show in the world. It's Monday, August 10th, and this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, LOVE, love sports and the Word of God on the Tom the Bomb Show. And yes, gang, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. How about that? We're live on Facebook today. On YouTube, you can go to Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. Put that in the search, it'll pop up. You can also contact us by email at info@tomthebombsports.com. And of course, you can always visit our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. You see, there's a theme going on there. Hey, gang, we'd like to personally thank you guys for your prayers and your support for contributing to the show and our ministry. We sincerely thank you. With that, we appreciate your patronage, and you can bless us to keep creating compelling content and spreading the word of God, because you know that's actually our real job. Okay. Yep. Our business cash app is hashtag $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. Again, that's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. We sincerely thank you, and may God bless you 100-fold return on the seed that you sow into our ministry at the Tom the Bomb Show. As usual, we want to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things he's already done for us. And we're always excited about the new things happening in 2026. Of course, our theme for 2026 is the year of discovery for grace for beyond in 2026, so that we can be transformed to a level that none of us has walked in before. And 2026 can truly be the best year of our lives. Our foundational scripture for 2026, because you got to have a foundation, Felix. You need a foundation, Felix, okay? Our foundational scripture is found in 2 Peter 3:18. That's the Good News Translation Bible. And it says, but continue to grow in the grace and the knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. To him be the glory now and forever. Amen. To infinity and beyond. Hey, gang, I'm pleased to announce our Community Hope Center at VCCI. We've started our grocery distribution program. Uh, Look, we threw a little Spanish up there too. Ain't that cool? Okay, how about that? We're feeding 50 families in designated zip codes on the third Saturday of each month at 11 a.m. Eastern. Our location is at 7-7, that's Metropolitan Court. It's right behind the DMV off Clopper Road for the local guys in Gaithersburg, Maryland. The zip there is 20878, and it's open to all the residents of the following zip codes: 20877, 20878, 20879, 20855, and 20882, and anyone that lives in the Montgomery Village area. It's on a first come, first served basis while supplies last. You can scan the QR code to register, or you can also register on site. But all participants must complete a registration form. Please, please, please. Now, listen, whether you're in one of those zip codes or not, listen, if you show up, I promise you that they will feed you. They will give you food. Okay. Tell them Tom the Bomb sent you. And look, as soon as you mention my name, they're going to be like, Tom the Bomb. Oh, get them their food first. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Our goal is to work up to 100 families soon. So be in agreement with us to get to this goal. It's a worthy goal. You know, our late great pastor Dwayne Brunton used to always say that if a church leaves the community and the community doesn't miss the church, then that meant the church was never supposed to be there in the first place. So we want to be a blessing to the community that we serve. Amen. Amen. All righty. Let's get to last week's poll question first. Okay. Pick your best lefty right 1-2 punch. You know, left-handed slugger by you know, we probably need to put this on the calendar because Troy, Felix, and Tom the Bomb, we were all in agreement. But not only that, you guys out there actually agreed with us as well, as we thought it was a Barry Bonds and Albert Pujols. That's hard to go against Babe Ruth and Willie Mays, but the majority of you guys kind of saw it the way we saw it. So we were all in agreement. So the poll question you guys agree with is Barry Bonds and Albert Pujols. Okay, which was the 1-2 punch. You know, you at least like to face. Uh, Listen, I I didn't know. Okay, let's get. We actually got trivia today, right, Lori?
That's right.
We actually have Felix. I got trivia for you today. Okay. That's because we're one. Okay, that's why. Our trivia question today was: who was the first NFL player to score 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl? Troy, Felix, who was the first NFL player to score 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl? Well, we'll get to the answer, but I want to give Felix and Troy a shot right at the top of the show. I want to wake them up. Troy, Felix, who was the first NFL player to score 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl? We're going to come to the answer at the end of the show, but I want to hear from you guys now. I like bringing you guys in as soon as possible. What's your thoughts on that? Or you guys want to wait till the end of the show?
I'll wait.
Troy, Troy, Phil. Well, if Troy's going to wait, I got to make you wait too, Felix. That sound right? That sound fair?
It's fair. If everyone else has got to wait, we got to wait too.
All right, if that's the case, let's get to it, guys. Let's jump to it. Let's Felix, Troy, can you smell it? Can you guys smell it? Do you guys smell a football? Is anybody smelling football other than me? Troy, are you ready for some football? You guys ready for some football?
Yeah, man.
I was talking football the whole off season.
It's that time. I can smell it though. It's in the air. It's almost like the sky is falling. The sky is falling. A football hit me on the head. Let's get right to our first topic. Washington area native Stephon Diggs returned to join the Commanders in a full circle moment. Diggs said, I always played with a big chip on my shoulder when going up against the Washington Commanders, like I had something to prove because I felt like they passed up on me and didn't give me a chance when I was right in their own backyard. But not just Washington. Every NFL franchise passed on Stephon Diggs multiple times in the 2015 NFL draft before Minnesota selected him in the 5th round. After stops in Minnesota, Buffalo, Houston, and New England, and after 4 Pro Bowl selections later, Stephon Diggs has signed with his hometown Washington Commanders earlier this week. Woo! It's a full circle moment for Diggs. Diggs is a Gaithersburg, Maryland native who played against Troy in area youth football, Montgomery Village versus South Germantown, right, Troy?
Small world.
Yeah, small world. How about that? Diggs was a 5-star recruit with scholarship offers practically everywhere in the country. Diggs chose to stay home and play for the University of Maryland. Diggs said, I couldn't have written a better story at this point in my career. Being healthy, coming off an ACL injury, having success going to your hometown team and wanting to shine for them. I want to put on for my city, he said. I told you guys this was a no-brainer signing the Commander signing Diggs. Diggs' hometown is more than just a feel-good story. The Commanders entered training camp with a massive hole at the number 2 wide receiver position. Scary Terry McLaurin and Diggs figures to fill it as an instant upgrade. Stylistically, Stephon Diggs is an excellent fit opposite McLaurin, who is a more traditional X receiver. Diggs has experience playing on the perimeter and in the slot and is one of the league's best chain movers in 2025. Matter of fact, 51 of his 85 receptions, Troy, went for first downs. He's got great feel working from the slot and on the inside. What I like about him is how he competes and he attacks the ball like it belongs to him when it goes up. He's an NFL proven commodity and will be a great number 2 to go along with McLaurin. It's Washington's best receiver duo since Pierre Garcon and Deshaun Jackson when each of them topped 1,000 yards receiving in 2016. Felix, aren't you impressed that I know stats about your Commanders receivers, Felix?
I expect it. Yeah, I mean, you just know these things. You know what I'm saying? It's out of expectation, but I would say this: it is a very impressive thing. And I tell you this all the time. Not a lot of people, almost no one does what you do with stats and facts.
Well, Felix, I always say this. When you don't do drugs and drink, you can actually remember things.
No, that's right. But I wanted to add on to what you said about Garcon and Deshaun Jackson.
Uh-huh.
I want to take it a step further. I think that we might see the best efficacy, wide receiver efficacy since Art Monk and Gary Clark.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it that far.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, and here's the reason why. You're talking about 2 wide receivers that NFL defenses like to double. You have Terry McLaurin. He has the highest contested catch rate in the National Football League. Then you have Stephon Diggs. He's one of the best route runners in football. He alone, you'll see him disrupt the entire game. You know, during his time in Buffalo, basically they were able to get downfield at will as long as he was on that team. As a matter of fact, I thought Buffalo was going to kind of collapse when he left them. I mean, they found a way to have more so methodical style.
Mm-hmm.
But you notice that Josh Allen, he's not automatic anymore. He's not going straight for the end zone for the deep pass or straight to the red zone for deep backs with Stephon. Then you look at the Patriots. He took the Patriots straight to that AFC championship, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, the Patriots were not producing, again, a largely similar roster in the past 3 or 4 years. The only difference being Stephon Diggs. That's who takes it to the next level. Defenses like to double him. Defenses sometimes double Terry. And you can't double 2 people at the same time. You mean to tell me that half of your defense, or roughly 40% of your defense, is going to be focused around 2 guys in the offense? You're not even going to look at the tight ends, other receivers, or even the running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Washington is going to be able to spread out defense like they never could before. And that's the reason why I'm saying this is probably going to be a Clark and Monk combo more than a Garcon and Jackson combo, even though you'd expect me to be biased towards them because they were, during my upbringing or, a little bit of my college years. But still, I have to be honest.
Troy, Felix makes a great point. I think those 2 on the outside is going to open up that middle for that new tight end they have. Troy, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's going to create more opportunity for everybody, in particular Terry.
because it's not going to be as many opportunities to double him, especially with the deep safety. But one thing I'll say is that, this is, huge for the area just because of, if you're around this area and you're, familiar with, um, top of the Beltway League football and Pop Warner football
Mhm.
and Good Counsel football, you're very familiar. And even for those who are like really big into Maryland sports in regards to the Maryland Terps,
Mhm.
this is huge to bring somebody, homegrown back to, where they belong. Now, you said a great point earlier about how he was a fifth round pick. I want everybody to know it wasn't because of talent. It was because of his, temper and his, attitude, especially when it came to, I guess sportsmanship. People forget when him and Geno Smith went against each other when Geno Smith was at West Virginia. They went after each other in regards to how, like fiery they were. And there was one particular game where he was a captain, he didn't shake the guy's hands across the field. And it just, it wasn't really a good look. So I want everybody to know it wasn't because of talent, it's just because of, personal feelings in regards to who he was as a person. But again, this is huge. I'm very interested to see how this is going to shake up the wide receiver room.
Mhm.
I don't know if we're going to talk about that more in depth in the next couple of minutes, but with him here, that means somebody got to go. And in regards to who has to go, I'm not really too sure. But ultimately, this brings a lot of depth and more importantly, more ticket sales to a team that can use it because
Mhm.
people are going to chime in and come to the stadium to watch, Montgomery Village, Gaithersburg native do his thing.
Mhm. Well, hey, listen, it's a Commanders show. Don't you guys see I got my burgundy tie on for the Commanders? Let's talk about that wide receiver room. Troy, who do you think's gonna have to go? Also, I think this is going to with Scary Terry and Diggs, I think it's gonna open up for a third wide receiver to have a really, really big year. The way that I can't say is it what is it? Damami Brown? How do you say his first name?
Diami
Diami.
Brown.
Remember how he just came out of nowhere and just kind of made really, really big plays on third down and key. I think that's going to open up for one of these young wide receivers because, like Felix said, those two guys are going to get a lot of attention. And I'm looking for that tight end to have a great year. And I think it's going to be a number 3 or number 4 receiver that's going to show up out of nowhere. Troy, what's your thoughts?
I agree. I'm gonna take it a step further in that I feel like just having Jaden Daniels in the at the quarterback naturally keeps everybody on their toes on the defensive side. So when we saw De'Ami Brown go off against Detroit in the divisional playoff round 2 years ago, that wasn't necessarily just because of the wide receivers around him, but also because of the attention that the backfield creates. People forget we've been the top 5 rushing team for the past couple years, right? So, just keeping eyes in the backfield is naturally going to get wide receivers open. Now, with that said, I'm looking at the roster. I'm looking at the depth chart. Felix, I don't know, dog. I'm looking, um, you know, I look at Luke McCaffrey as untouchable. I think Luke McCaffrey in the slot is the perfect complementary, especially when he's healthy. He played great last year when healthy. Traylon Burks is the former number 1 pick out of Arkansas. So you bring in another first rounder guy to be able to put, opposite side um Diggs and Terry McLaurin, and you still got Antonio Williams who we drafted in the 3rd round. So it really comes down to me between Van Jefferson and Jalen Lane. And as much as I respect Van Jefferson, Jalen Lane brings us a special teams aspect that we desperately need, especially on punt returns, kind of like what Brandon Banks used to do for us back like, 10 plus years ago. So I hope that they hold on to Luke. I hope they hold on to De'Ami. My friend Justin has been a huge De'Ami Brown fan ever since he was at North Carolina. And one thing I'll tell you is that even without Diggs, I really like this wide receiver room. Now, if you add them, it only makes us a little bit more effective, in my opinion.
Lori, I'm loving this because I knew that I wasn't going to have to do a whole lot of research on this one. I was just going to have to turn it over to the fellas. Felix, respond to what Troy just said.
By the way, first off, kudos for you bringing up Brandon Banks. He's someone that I greatly appreciated when I was a kid watching him play. I mean,
He was fun to watch, bro.
yeah, absolutely. And he was the fun fact. He was the last player to be rated 99 on Madden for Washington. So that's a tidbit there. But yeah. So another thing I wanted to bring up with Luke McCaffrey, I'm going to say this: I want to see him utilized a little more this year because a lot of people don't know this because he's not targeted a lot of times. He had the highest separation rate out of any NFL wide receiver in 2024.
Yes, sir.
And I brought this up a lot of times, and I really want to hammer the point on because the thing is, our wide receiver core is more talented than people realize, and I think it might be. I don't want to sound like I'm up down undermining the coaches, but it might be more than the coaches realize, and it's only human to overlook certain things. But I'd have to say that he, Luke McCaffrey's there. You have Jalen Lane. I think Jalen Lane, he's a solid receiver, but I think he could do way more if you keep him specifically at the kick returner role. But and of course he could play receiver from time to time. But what I'm going to say is something that I really didn't like from training camp while we're on the topic. I don't like the fact that we're experimenting with Sam still a kick returner. We need to specifically keep him at his DB role.
Mhm.
Excuse me if I'm going a bit off course here,
No,
but
I agree. I agree with that.
I agree too.
I totally agree
right.
with that. Those are such specialist positions. Why take a chance on your starting corner getting hurt on special teams? That to me that makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense to me. So I'm in agreement with you there, Felix. Guys, we got to talk about this. The Washington Commanders star left tackle Laremy Tunsil will undergo surgery to repair a torn triceps. He's expected to miss a significant portion and possibly all of 2026 regular season. The recovery time for this injury is 4 to 7 months. Tunsil is the highest paid left tackle in football after signing in March the Commanders for 30.1 million. He's the only left tackle that actually makes 30 million per season. Felix and Troy, this is just plain bad luck for you, beloved Commanders fan. Before we get into that, Lori, can you tell us about the injury exactly? Can you explain that from medical for just give us some information on that, Lori?
The the triceps muscle is in the back of the arm, okay? Biceps is flexing, the triceps is in the back of the arm, and the issue is when you have a muscle tear, those are very, very significant repairs. Just imagine how can you have you ever tried to tear a piece of steak?
Mhm.
Really hard to do.
Mhm.
So imagine a human muscle being torn. The kind of force that happens that causes that kind of tear, it's a very, very severe injury, which is why the recovery is so prolonged.
Mhm. Well, let's get to our experts on this. Felix, listen, it's obvious everybody's talking about, of course, we know the left tackle is your blind side. It's the most important position on the field besides quarterback. And it's obvious about what's going to happen with pass protection. But Felix, my thing is, how is this going to affect the run game? That's what I'm more concerned about. What's your thoughts on this, Felix?
Well, I think that the run game could be impacted, but I don't think it's going to be as much of an impact. I know that this team has very lengthy depth at the running back position. So, I mean, there are different gaps that can be targeted aside from the A gap, get the B gap, C gap, outside. You can go out tackle. So, again, I do think that it's going to have its impact. You can have plays where these are extremely rare. But yes, okay, now it opens up the probability that you can have a defensive end perfectly time a snap count and blow up a play in the backfield. But that's going to happen fewer times than you can count on one hand during the course of a season. But I would say overall, the run game, I think it's going to be mostly unimpacted because, again, this running back core is a lot more talented than people realize. And a big reason why we don't see that is because our play selection runs are called less than 30% of the time. And I get it's a passing league, but I still think that's really low for the type of talent that we have.
Mhm. Troy, what does this mean for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders in this upcoming season after losing their blind side protection?
Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow. You feel me? Like it's hard to put yourself in a position going into a new season without the star left tackle that you paid big money to
Big
get
money,
to.
big money.
Right. But one thing I'll say is that this team, going back to Jaden's rookie year, took a big page out of the book of the 2012 Redskins when they had Alfred Morris and RG3. Now, my problem with RG3 was he couldn't get down. Of course, nobody wants to see Jaden Daniels run and possibly get hurt. But one thing that he did his rookie year that reminded me a lot of what Archie and Alfred Morris did was that they knew how to keep the chains moving in certain situations. You know, you don't need the home run hit; you just need 4 or 5 yards of pop. And I feel as if with the vision of Krosky Merritt, with the power of the running back that we got from Penn State, bringing in Rashad White as a third down, back, and you still got Jaden Daniels. I still believe even without Laremy Tunsil, we're still going to be a really good situational run team that knows how to keep time of possession going based off of us just being able to read and react. No, like I said, it does hurt though. I'm looking at the Giants, and I'm looking at them as the dark horse to be the X factor of the NFL, not the
Great
NFC
point.
East of the
Great
NFL.
point. Great, great,
I'm
great
looking at
point.
how they got new coaching and John Harbaugh. I'm looking at how they drafted Alvaro Reese at pick number 5 when everybody thought he was going to be a top 3 pick. And I'm thinking about how he stacks up with Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and all these weapons on the defensive front.
Mhm.
So in regards to our division, it's going to be tough going against Dallas and New York and Philly in regards to being able to run the ball how we want to. But I think, sophomore slump is over with. Injuries happen. I think if we can just find a way to stay about 90% healthy, we can still be effective.
Troy, you make a great point. Uh, the NFC East is back to being the beast instead of the least. Last year, the NFC West with the 49ers and the Rams and the Seahawks, I thought really was the best conference in football. But I think it could, even with the Rams in Seattle, I think it could be the East. And Felix, like Troy just said, I think the New York Giants is going to be a team that's going to shock everybody. What's your thoughts on this, Felix?
I agree 100% because, again, Malik Neighbors, he's going to be healthy. Jackson Dart's doing his thing. The Giants' running game was already talented before Cam Scatterbo got there. Now you add him to the mix as a power runner. So I'm glad you definitely mentioned the draft picks, what they did with their defense this year. The Giants were already a talented team. That's the thing.
Mhm.
They just were achievers. They were underperformers. They weren't winning games in previous years, but they were a good team, if that makes any sense. Similar to, say, Washington in previous years. Washington was really a good team for a lot of the past few years, but they were just underperforming. They didn't have certain things together to make it consistent. Now that the Giants are there, not to mention, you mentioned something very important. They have Harbaugh, different coach. You don't know what you're going to get out of this Giants team. So it's really the sky's the limit for this team. I would say this, though, a bit of a counterpoint here. John Harbaugh had a more talented team in Baltimore, right? But at times you'd see the Ravens just completely tank a game.
Mhm.
You'd see Lamar Jackson, of course, a talented player. He'd be given absolutely terrible routes. And if you're dependent on him to run completely and he's not being given proper passing routes, I've seen the Ravens offense totally struggle. I've seen the Ravens defense, solid front seven. I've seen their defense give up some pretty bad plays with coverage. So again, I would say this Giant season, it could be anything. They could perform really badly as they have been in terms of wins and losses, or they could explode. Anything, literally anything could happen this year.
Okay, let's do
And,
this real. Let's do this real quick before we go to break. I think that there's a team in this division that could win 10 games and be fourth in the division. So, Troy, tell us how right now. I know it's early. Tell us how you think the NFC stacks up from top to bottom. Who do you think is taking it second, third, fourth? Give it to me quick, Troy.
uh, well, I still think Philly's the team to beat. I mean, until someone knocks them off the pedestal, they're the number 1 team in our division. Number 2, I'm gonna say a lot of people ain't gonna like this, but I'm gonna say Dallas.
Hmm.
They have a prolific 1-2 punch in uh George Pickens and CD Lamb,
Hmm.
and Dak Prescott's still putting up MVP numbers. So they're tough. And then, I mean, I want to put the Commanders at third, but I think that the Giants are in a better coaching position than we are. So I think that we're last in our division with a lot to prove. quite honestly.
And I think they could be there with 10 wins. Felix, what's your thoughts? Who do you like top to bottom? Quickly, Felix.
First off, much respect to Troy for the objectivity there, but I'm going to actually say that number one, I think number one's either Washington or Dallas, but just to keep it fair, you know what? I'm just going to say Washington. Excuse me, Dallas, then Washington. Then I'd say Philly. I think Philly, they're a team that they were getting away with a lot of mistakes last year. They're getting away with almost doing nothing in passing in the second half and barely winning game after game. I think they're going to figure out Philly. Then, of course, the Giants, they have to prove themselves. They're talented. They're a team that can sneak in to the playoffs with the lowest spot in the division, but they're talented. And again, Dallas, to explain why they're number one, just the top scoring team in the NFL last year. It's just a matter of having a semi-decent defense that'll take them over to the next step. Washington, great team, but expect growing pains with the different changes in management.
Okay. All righty. Okay, guys, so let's take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Window Nation is on the Morgan's home turf to huddle up about replacing their drafty old windows.
This free estimate is showing how easy it is to tackle the problem.
We can get any of these windows custom made.
Yes, you can get the quality and style you really want.
And at a more affordable price than they ever imagined.
Now that they've sealed the deal, they'll be saving money year-round.
We're really confident with Window Nation.
Get your free estimate today and get 60% off all windows plus no interest or payments for 24 months at getwindownation.com.
Sheltered by the Sea of Cortez, Danzante Bay is a pure and peaceful oasis, an uncrowded retreat where your options are as vast as your views. If you're seeking a vacation that defines luxury and the true relaxation, look no further than Villa del Palmar at the islands of Loreto. A splendor of true Mexican hospitality effortlessly blends with rich materials and satiable comforts to bring guests the ideal home away from home experience. With its quiet beaches, scenic vistas, rich history, and an astounding surrounding natural habitat, you'll feel as though you've been swept off to paradise. Not to be outdone, Reese Jones has crafted TPC Danzante Bay, a brilliant, multi-themed 18-hole golf course that runs over and through valleys, arroyos, dunes, and foothills. From every angle, striking images of the islands of Loreto and the surrounding mountain range take your breath away, while the challenging yet rewarding Baja Golf Course beckons you to return for more. It is an honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the world's most beautiful sunset and so much more.
Hey, gang, Tom the Bomb is back at Window Nation after 14 years. Window Nation is a third-generation window and door replacement expert. They opened their doors in 2006 in Maryland with their first showroom. Celebrating their 20th year anniversary, quickly grew to serve homeowners in cities across the country. And we're grateful for every homeowner who has trusted Window Nation to upgrade their most important asset, their home. I went to work for Window Nation in 2008 to 2012, and now I'm back. And if you're watching the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk Show, you can now actually have Tom the Bomb himself graciously serve you with your home improvement projects with windows and doors nationwide. We currently have some awesome promotions going on. So you want to check us out along with great financing with no interest and low interest financing, same as cash, along with other great promotions. So if you need windows or doors, call Tom the Bomb at 301-655-9992. That's 301-655-9992, or email me at info@tomthebombsports.com and leave a message. I'll get right back to you nationwide. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to serve you. All righty, let's get on to our next topic. The 2026 Hall of Fame class was officially enshrined on Saturday in Canton, Ohio. Troy and Felix, have you guys, have either of you guys been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Either of you guys?
No,
Not yet.
basketball Hall of Fame, but not football.
Oh man, listen, you guys
That's
got to
on my
go.
list.
And listen, and you want to plan to spend a whole day, man. You could spend a whole day up in that joint, man. It's really really something. You guys will really really enjoy it. You'll really really like it. It's definitely worth making a trip for. So let's get to our enshrinements. Let's start off with Larry Fitzgerald, longtime Arizona Cardinals star receiver, renowned for his elite hands and climbing near the top of the all-time receiving list. What's your guys' thoughts on Larry Fitzgerald, Troy?
Uh, I remember when Larry Fitzgerald got drafted out of Pittsburgh, and I was never like blown away by his athleticism in regards to just being a burner.
Mhm.
But in regards to what a prototypical NFL presence in regards to like handling business looks like, you look at Larry Fitzgerald first and foremost. Never gets in trouble. Never was the type of person to maliciously want to hurt somebody, but played his heart out every single play. Was a great blocker. Was a phenomenal route runner. And last thing I want to say is more tackles than drops as a wide
Wow.
receiver. Number
Wow.
one,
That's
right?
impressive.
So, to think back to when they played in that Super Bowl against Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh.
Steelers,
Mhm.
how he made, that huge play in late in the fourth quarter to score that touchdown. Larry Fitz, he's the epitome of if you work hard enough and you really dedicate yourself to something, you can go and get it. Had great people around him to kind of lead him up. I'm happy to see him thrive.
Felix, what's your thoughts on Fitzy?
Just about anything you can say about him, it's already been said, but I think he's one of those players that I, I don't think enough has been said about him or could be said. I mean, like I think Troy summed it up. Although he was someone who wasn't really known for, say, having the highest jump, the fastest route running, so on and so forth, he was reliable. If the ball was thrown his direction and he can make the catch, he'd make the catch. He wouldn't drop the ball often. He'd do everything you're supposed to do with consistency. And I always make this reference. I try not to do it too much, but I remember in high school, a coach told me when I was playing baseball, people want consistency, not what you can do for a highlight reel, blah, 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 blah. Just make sure when you're supposed to do something, you do it and you can be counted on to do it. Larry Fitzgerald has been doing that. He's been delivering that for about 2 decades. And like Troy said, it's not just what he did on the field, but also off the field. He showed that, hey, a person can have the lifestyle, the money, the fame that comes with football, and still carry themselves with a certain humility, a certain humanity. And, that's something that Larry Fitzgerald kind of encourages. And I don't want to go too far off the deep end here, but I feel like people, there's a bit of a idea that once you get money, you're supposed to be a certain way, or money's going to turn you a certain way, or being an athlete means you have to have a certain attitude. But I'd say Fitzgerald, again, he pretty much exemplified on and off the field how a person should model themselves if they go into this line of work.
Okay, that's great. We got to be quicker though. Let's get to the next guy. Adam Vinatieri, legendary clutch kicker with multiple Super Bowl rings earned playing for the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts. Troy, what's your thoughts on Adam Vinatieri?
Mr. Clutch, watching him play, going back to that kick that he had against the Oakland Raiders, with the most controversial call probably in NFL history.
Best kick I ever seen in the history of the NFL. Best kick ever.
And I remember watching that with you, and I know how much of a Raider fan that you are. He pulls up and delivers when you need him. In my opinion, the most clutch kicker of all time.
I didn't cuss when he made that kick, did I, Troy? I can't remember.
Nah, you didn't, but you did when they said it wasn't no fumble.
That's only
Felix, Adam Vinatieri.
Yes, Adam Vinatieri just got the job done as a kicker. Kicker's a more crucial position than you think. I mean, if you're in a situation where you can't score a touchdown, the kicker makes sure you can get out of it with some points, and he delivered. He's part of some of the most important moments in NFL history with both the Colts and the Patriots. So again, well-deserved honor. And he's one of the few players who's been on a Madden game for all 5 PlayStation systems.
That's great.
Wow,
That's great.
that's a trivia question
There
right
you
there.
go. That's Felix going deep. Troy, our next guy I know is one of your favorite. I don't know if you wore the number after him, but I know you wore the same number. Luke Kuechly, a dominant middle linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, who won Defensive Rookie of the Year during his stellar career. Troy, I know one of your favorites. Tell us about Luke Kuechly.
Well, okay, so everybody know I did not wear 59 because of Luke Kuechly. I wore 59 because they made me play left guard at 185 pounds. So I had no choice. Let's get that clear.
Okay.
But with that said, though, him and London Fletcher, two of the best to see that I've seen wear the number 59 in my lifetime. Luke Kuechly was a Hall of Famer his rookie year. He had his best season as a rookie. He had over 164 total tackles and 103 solo tackles his rookie year. And for somebody, I look at him like Aaron Donald. If he wanted to, if he sincerely wanted to, he could come back and play for Carolina right now. If you gave him like a couple months to really get back in the NFL shape, he could come back and be not necessarily a star, but a key piece, just like London Fletcher was in his late career in Washington. So yeah, the dude's a beast. Born to play football, born to play middle linebacker. For those that are looking to teach their sons how to wrap up, how to read gaps, Luke Kuechly is the perfect person to show.
Felix, land the plane.
Yep, Luke Kuechly, another player in terms of consistency, just delivery. I'd say the same thing for Larry Fitzgerald, just consistency, delivery, nonstop. And another fun fact, he's the first player who started his career while I was in high school to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that's something right there. But congratulations to him. Definitely the best defensive player in Carolina's history.
Okay, Felix, you get to go next on this first on this next guy. Drew Brees, prolific record-setting quarterback for the Chargers and the Saints, winning the Super Bowl with New Orleans. Probably one of the most brainiac quarterbacks that I've ever seen. Felix, tell us about Drew Brees.
And Drew Brees, I'm kind of noticing a theme here with this year's Hall of Fame class. So some years he led in yards, other years he did not. But one thing was for certain, he always had the accuracy. His accuracy rating was something that was historically high. I mean, highest of all time, if I'm not mistaken. And it just goes to show it's not, he might not have, again, he may not have as many yards as, say, Rodgers in a given year or this quarterback, that quarterback, Manning, Brady, so on and so forth. Some years he did. But the fact of the matter was, if the ball had to be delivered a certain way to a certain receiver, in a certain situation, he did it. You looked at the clutch season he had in 2009, one of the best seasons a quarterback could possibly have that year, and what it meant to the Saints fan base, what it meant to the city of New Orleans, just him being there, and the fact that his story is a story of perseverance. People thought his career was potentially over
So did he.
when he left the Chargers. And he had that shoulder injury. A lot of people forget that. A lot of people forgot that the Saints didn't just get Drew Brees. If I'm not mistaken, they also picked up Patrick Ramsey from Washington in case Brees didn't pan out the way they wanted to. That's something to think about. But yeah, so congratulations to him. It's definitely a great story in his career.
Troy, Drew Brees.
From 2006 all the way to 2017, the man threw for over 4,300 yards in each season. That alone gets you a ticket to Canton. Here's the thing: forget football. What he meant to the city of New Orleans is legendary in itself. When Katrina hit, the power that he had in his voice when it came to riling his guys and riling up, the city of New Orleans. He is without a doubt the greatest Saints quarterback ever. But in my opinion, in regards to just somebody that you need to, hype you up to get ready to go to war for, Drew Brees is definitely the epitome of that. Heart over hype.
Well, this next guy, every year there's a NFL Hall of Fame, and every year we've been on air for 6 years on the Tom the Bomb show, and for 6 years I've been saying, man, why are they dogging out Roger Craig? Roger Craig was a dynamic, multi-time Super Bowl champion running back for my San Francisco 49ers. He was selected as a senior candidate after 28 years for the Hall to come to their senses. Okay. primarily primarily because traditional voters metrics that favored pure rushers over versatile dual threat players combined with playing in the shadow of his legendary teammates. Okay, that was definitely a factor. So number one, the Hall of Fame voters ignored like Chuck Foreman of the Minnesota Vikings the same way, only looking at running backs' career rushing totals. Roger Craig retired in 1993 with 8,189 rushing yards. While that's respectable, it didn't hit that automatic 10,000 yard benchmark traditionally expected of Hall of Fame candidate bound rushers at the time. However, these idiots, these idiot voters overlooked his 4,911 receiving yards, which puts Roger Craig totals at 13,100 yards, which clearly indicates an elite NFL career. And then totally ignoring the fact that Craig was the first player in NFL history to record 1,000 yards rushing and receiving in a single season in 1985. It's literally taken decades for the league's football philosophy to shift towards fully appreciating the value of a pass catching dual threat running back. Now everyone is looking for a Christian McCaffrey. Everyone is looking for a Marshall Faulk type of back. So, secondly, Roger Craig was overshadowed by the 49ers dynasty and their legends. Roger Craig was a foundational element of Bill Walsh's iconic West Coast offense. Roger Craig won 3 Super Bowls with the 49ers. However, playing alongside consensus GOATs, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and Ronnie Lott, inadvertently hurt Roger Craig's Hall of Fame case. Some idiot voters attributed his production to the system and his legendary teammates rather than viewing Roger Craig as a transcendent talent on his own merit. Okay. The third thing is then there was the senior category bottleneck. Okay. Once a player passes 25 years out of the league, they transfer out of the modern era category and into the senior pool, kind of like the baby pool when you take your kids to the pool. They into the senior pool, which is a serious bottleneck because it has dozens of deserving decade-old legends competing for only 1 to 3 finalist spots each year. And in addition to that, they now have added coaches and contributors to this category, making the path to induction even narrow. Okay, and then the fourth thing is, then finally, it's the single play stigma. Though it's been downplayed by voters, some historians point to Roger Craig's infamous, costly fumble in the 1990 NFC Championship game against the New York Giants. The fumble absolutely cost the 49ers a chance at an unprecedented Super Bowl three-peat. For a very, very long time, it left an unfair stain on an otherwise remarkable, consistent, and clutch postseason career. I.e., it puts me in remembrance of Jackie Smith, Hall of Fame tight end for the St. Louis Football Cardinals, who played his whole career in St. Louis, only to be traded to the Dallas Cowgirls, and then famously dropping what should have been a game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jackie Smith is one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, but then totally ignoring the only thing that people remember him for is for dropping the potential game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage imaginable. But Jackie Smith is a Hall of Famer. And finally, the Hall of Fame voting community finally correct this historical oversight, acknowledging that the modern NFL offenses simply cannot be explained without Rogers Craig pioneering blueprint career contributions. Finally, Felix and Troy, I looked at the analytics of the only 3 men to ever achieve 1,000, the 1,000 club of rushing and receiving in a single season. And and the numbers are interesting, but they're interesting because it's analytics. Okay, you just can't look at the numbers only. After going over the stats side by side, I spent a little time on this, Felix, as you can tell. After going over the stats side by side, the obvious conclusion is that Marshall Falk is a god. Marshall Falk is a god, and clearly the golden standard and the benchmark. Marshall Falk is the only man in NFL history with 12,000 rushing yards and 6,000 receiving yards. Now, Christian McCaffrey matched Roger Craig's career totals and surpassed his touchdown count in 53 fewer games. And for me, what that does, Felix, it illustrates the high octane environment of today's modern offenses. But follow me on this. Roger Craig, you have to take into account, let me explain this, Felix, volume versus the blueprint. Felix, what I mean by this is that, think about this. So, okay, so I'm going on a Felix tangent here, okay, because it's the Time to Bomb show. Ricky Henderson is the all-time single season leader for stolen bases in Major League Baseball with like 130 something in one season. But Lou Brock is the best base stealer in Major League Baseball history, even though the numbers don't say that. When Lou Brock played the game was different and it was played under different unwritten rules. And baseball has a lot of unwritten rules. For example, if your team was winning, you didn't steal bases. If you did steal base in your team, it would cause a fight. During Ricky's record-breaking year, when he stole 130 some bases, breaking Lou Brock's single-season record, no such rules existed, and Ricky was running wild. Okay, so you also have to, going back to this, taking it back to football. That's my Felix tangent, by the way. You have to remember that Roger Craig was, first of all, he was splitting time in the backfield. And more importantly, he was sharing targets in San Francisco with elite downfield targets with Jerry Rice and John Taylor. Whereas Marshall Falk and Christian McCaffrey served as the absolute focal point and the center of their team's offense as the first option. Roger Craig was never, ever the first option in San Francisco. Felix, what's your take on Roger Craig? Are you guys there?
Right. So in terms of Roger Craig's talent, it just goes. It's unfortunate, but it just goes to show that unfortunately, the way that in which they do Hall of Fame inductions, they overlook certain things. They overlook a lot of things, as a matter of fact. And his impact on modern football, or rather, the way in which he played, being so unprecedented, it goes understated. And the fact of the matter is, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Most of the times I've heard people talk about Roger Craig, it was on this show. It's not something that they generally talk about before his Hall of Fame induction, before he was selected, before he's nominated. He's not someone who popped up in casual discourse.
Mhm.
So going back to it, yes, you look at the modern NFL running back. It's considered a bare minimum thing for an NFL running back to know how to catch a ball in the backfield. At a certain point, it'll be like, okay, you throw the ball to the running back. You'll probably try to trick someone, but maybe they'll bobble it and they'll drop it. But no, it's now a thing where, okay, players have to do that. And I would say with Roger Craig, he was one of few players who had that hybrid running back wide receiver trait, similar to a more recent example, Marshall Falk, more recent before it became commonplace. And you can take it back to the 60s with Larry Brown and Bobby Mitchell. I had to bring my Commanders in there somehow. So, but that being said, I'm glad he's finally getting his due, and I really hope for the same, because there are a lot of players who have been due for a Hall of Fame induction for decades now.
Troy, I know you kind of discovered Roger Craig by Madden. What's your thoughts on Roger Craig, Troy?
No, I discovered Roger Craig through Madden. Let's get that clear. Back in the old days, back in the old like Madden PlayStation 2 games, you could play as these historic teams from the 80s and 90s, and you would get the 1983 49ers and just throw the ball to Dwight Clark and Roger Craig all game. And for me, it was frustrating. So I'm like, as a 7-year-old, I don't know how to stop no Texas right off the backfield. I don't know how to stop no wing route with a linebacker that ain't got the same speed as a running back. Like, that was frustrating. So yeah, that's how I found out about Roger Craig. Y'all didn't know. But with that said, well, first off, prayers up to him. He's resisting dementia from the hits that he's been taking. He's took his career. So prayers up to him and the family. back then you made a great point, in regards to context and volume. People don't realize the shotgun wasn't really, as popular as it was now in comparison to it was back in. I mean, it's popular, more popular now, but in the 80s and the 90s, they were running more under center, dual back, running back formations. It wasn't really set up for
Pro
for much,
formation.
passing, right?
Mhm.
So the fact that he was doing that during that time frame, especially when it wasn't no unnecessary roughness penalties getting thrown every once in a while, that he played in the era where it was frowned upon and he still stuck out.
Mhm.
So anybody that's kind of like a trendsetter, like when I look at Dirk and how he made shooting for bigs in the NBA a thing outside the 3-point line.
Mhm.
Roger Craig, along with Chris McCaffrey and Marshall Falk, are type guys where they're no question Hall of Famers. I'm just surprised that it took this long for him to get inducted.
Yeah, 28 years. Yeah. And like I said, the big thing for me is he was never, ever the number one option in San Francisco. And yet he still accomplished all of that. And like I said, this is a little bit before you guys, but he played, his game was a lot like Chuck Foreman's of the Minnesota Vikings, who's another guy who's kind of been overlooked. But Chuck Foreman had the same game that Roger Craig had. And did Chuck Foreman date BB? Since you don't know. Hey guys, real
This
quick,
around us.
huh?
That's Minnesota Vikings circa Super Bowl III.
Super Bowl three. No, 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 not Super Bowl. Super Bowl three is the first game that me and Gus ever watched together. No, no, no. Uh, Roger Craig Chuck Foreman Super Bowl was when the Vikings played the Miami Dolphins. Chuck Foreman
Gotcha.
was the star running back for the Minnesota Vikings then when they played the Miami Dolphins. Real quick, guys, let's take a look at next year's players that will be eligible for enshrinement in their first year on the ballot for the 2027 Pro Football Hall of Fame. Let's go through this quickly, guys. We got Ben Roethlisberger, Rob Gronkowski, Adrian Peterson, Richard Sherman, Cam Newton. Let's stop right there. Real quick, guys. What you guys thoughts? Ben Roethlisberger, Rob Gronkowski, Adrian Peterson, Richard Sherman, Cam Newton. Are these guys first balloters? What's your thoughts?
Three of them are
Okay, which three, Troy?
Ben Roethlisberger. Sorry. Dang, I just had a brain fart.
Gronk, Adrian
Adrian
Peterson,
Peterson.
Richard
Yeah,
Sherman,
yeah.
Cam Newton.
And Richard Sherman. I say Sherm, AP. Actually, no, sorry. Gronk, AP, Ben Roethlisberger. Those are the three that's first ballot.
I don't think Ben Roethlisberger. Felix, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say the thing with Sherman's probably not going to go in first ballot because he had a lot of help on his secondary, not to mention a big part of that Seahawks defense. It was the front seven causing disruption. If you saw Sherman go one-on-one, there were a lot of times where he'd get beaten by receivers. I'm not trying to discredit him at all. I definitely think he deserves a spot in Hall of Fame. But I do definitely think that there are guys who have a spot ahead of him. Roethlisberger, he played for the better part of 20 years, and he was a big part of the Steelers' success. He carried them for the most part. You have guys like Adrian Peterson, like his stats, although we try not to speak about stats, they speak for himself. I mean, he has the most yards rushing by a player in a single game. Then Gronk, arguably the greatest tight end in NFL history. Then maybe I'd say Cam Newton, you can throw him in there because the Panthers, let's be honest.
Does Cam have a chance, guys? Does Cam have a chance?
Yes, he does. Because the thing is, if the Panthers did not have Cam Newton, their last 16 odd years look completely different. And people forgot the Panthers were around the pinnacle of the NFL between 2015 and 2018. They were a very dangerous team with Cam Newton there. You remove him, the Panthers do absolutely nothing going back to 2011. So I have to say Newton definitely has to be there. Even though he had some downward spots later in his career, he definitely deserves, I think he definitely deserves a spot. And his longevity was a lot better than a lot of NFL quarterbacks.
Troy, is Cam Newton a Hall of Famer in your book?
Not first ballot, but over time, maybe in the next like 5 to 6 years, it's definitely a case to be made.
Okay, I want to talk about this next guy, Antonio Brown. When this guy played, he was the most deadly receiver that we may have seen in a 20, 25 years. Is Antonio now take all the drama out of it because this is supposed to be just what you did on the field. We know that's not true, but it's supposed to be just what you did on the field. So is Antonio Brown a first ballot Hall of Famer, Felix?
No. And here's the thing: he was an immensely talented wide receiver. Maybe down the road, if certain things get fixed up, maybe. But I'm saying, in terms of stats, definitely. From a PR standpoint, the NFL, they're going to play respectability politics. He's not going to. He's definitely not going in this year.
If they did TO like that, Antonio Brown ain't got a chance. Troy, what's your thoughts?
I mean, you just said what I was going to say.
My bad. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro. Go ahead. Go ahead and elaborate on it.
You just summed it up. I guess like if T.O. didn't get voted in first ballot, there's no way Antonio Brown will never make the Hall of Fame because T.O. never just quit on his team mid game and walked out.
Mm-hmm.
You can say what you want about Terrell Owens, but Terrell Owens got over 120 some yards receiving in a touchdown on a torn ACL in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
T.O. is the top 5 receiver ever.
Mm-hmm.
And if a top 5 receiver ever takes that long to get inducted, there's no way Antonio Brown gets inducted.
Okay. How about Andrew Whitworth? Recently retired, but he's eligible this year. Andrew Whitworth.
Yes, but not first ballot.
Okay. Felix, same thing?
I agree. He's an offensive lineman. They tend to be overlooked.
Okay, great. Gerald McCoy.
Debatable. As good as he was, definitely not first ballot.
Okay.
Not his talent, but because of everybody else that's inducted in this class with him. But I would say no.
Okay. I think because time, I think we forget about this next guy, Le'Veon Bell. Uh, how good this guy really, really was. Felix, what's your thought on Le'Veon Bell?
Le'Veon Bell's not first ballot. He was definitely a big part of the Steelers' success in the 2010s, but he's definitely. I would say he's not. He's not for first ballot, unfortunately.
Troy, Le'Veon Bell, what's your thoughts?
Quite honestly, not his first ballot. I don't think that he's a Hall of Famer at all.
Okay,
As
that's
good
fair.
as good as he was, Ben Roethlisberger made him more than what he really, was, in my opinion. The quarterback has to decide to pass the ball to the running back over 100 times in the season. The running back can be as good as he want to be as a receiver, but if the quarterback ain't throwing you the rock, then you're not going to get the stats. Ben Roethlisberger looked at Antonio Brown as number 1 and Le'Veon Bell as number 2 in regards to options. And when it comes to talent, dude's probably the most patient running back that's ever walked this planet in regards to just waiting and then hitting a hole and going. But with that said, outside of his stint in Pittsburgh, nothing he did outside of Pittsburgh is Hall of Fame worthy. So I don't see him as a Hall of Famer.
And lastly, Malcolm Jenkins.
Heck no.
Tell us how you really feel, Troy. Felix, Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah, he's not going to get it. He's not going, at least not first ballot. Sorry.
Oh man, now Felix is nice like Lauren. If Felix says you ain't getting in, you ain't. Guys, the preseason kicked off with the Hall of Fame football game. It took place on Thursday, August 6th at Tom Benson's Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio, as the Carolina Panthers defeated the Arizona Cardinals 33-30 in a surprising, entertaining, and high-scoring, thrilling opener to the NFL preseason. Undrafted rookie QB Haynes King led a dramatic last-second game-winning drive for the Panthers, while Cardinals rookie QB Carson Beck put on a strong performance in his debut. Now, I thought Carson Beck kind of, he played at Miami. He had a lot of talent around him. I didn't see him as having, a decent NFL career, but he impressed me. Granted, it was just a preseason game, but Carson Beck impressed me. Phyllis, what's your thoughts on the actual game?
Well, I don't mean to sound like an advertisement, but to anyone who says that they don't watch preseason, you can get a good game every now and then. So I would definitely say out of that game, not only was Carson Beck, also Carolina's quarterback. Not only did they have a great game, not only was this an absolute shootout from the second quarter onwards, but also I would say this probably speaks to a possible solid roster depth on both teams. But again, you can't really tell by preseason. But I'd say B, definitely. I like the systems that both offensive coordinators, both coaches were running. So I would say Carolina and Arizona expect some improvement from both teams because you can argue about the level of talent day and night when it comes to preseason games, but definitely in terms of strategic soundness, I definitely like what both coaching staffs were making in that game.
I saw him make some really uh, impressive uh, throws. Troy, what's your take? Troy, what's your take on the game?
Well, Kenny Pickett has officially lost his quarterback two spot. I'm calling it right now. Haynes King is, to me, one of the I don't when I watch preseason games, it's hard to really lock in. As much as I love football, because it's like you don't really know who's all playing. But Haynes King balled out. Dude was a 4-4-5 at the quarterback position, and he made every right decision from start to finish in that game. He had one mess up in the first half, and outside of that, he just locked in and just balled out. One thing I love about Taylor Heineke is, you know, as small as he was, and as he didn't really have the arm that you would want in a typical quarterback, he played his heart out every single time he played. And Haynes King reminds me so much of Taylor Heineke and about how he carries himself and how he's willing to, take off and run, but not do anything stupid, and just make the right play at the right time. He earned his way to becoming Bryce Young's backup as the number 2 quarterback. Carson Beck played great too. This was a fun game to watch ultimately. But yeah, Haynes King by far is, the biggest wow that I've seen, in past 5 years in preseason football.
Okay, guys. Hey, Kayla McBride sets a new WNBA record for the most three-pointers in a single game, knocking down 10 of 14 three-pointers in the game against the Dallas Wings for a 103-90 victory. The five-time All-Star broke the WNBA single-game record, making 10 three-pointers. She put on a show for the Minnesota Lynx hometown fans on Sunday, scoring a career-high 43 points, helping her team clinch the first playoff berth. Can Minnesota win it all in the WNBA, guys?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why is that even a question? Didn't they win about 2 years ago?
Uh, I, I, I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure on that. Uh, they could have. I'm not
Yeah, they're
sure.
one of the best teams in the league. They're one of the best teams in the league, of course.
Okay. All right. Okay. Troy.
One thing I'll say is, of course, McBride going off and hitting 10 threes out of 14. That's sufficient. I wish women had more of a green light, kind of like the men do, to be able to take more shots like that. Because, to think that 10 threes in the game is a record in the WNBA, there's plenty of women that can, get on the streak like that if they given the opportunity. But, this is a sidebar. Olivia Miles is probably the best rookie that I've seen in the past 5-6 years come out college and just dominate the WNBA. She's fun to watch. I love Paige. To watch Caitlin Clark play as a treat. But Olivia Miles is a true point guard, and she would give a lot of dudes the business right now. At any level. Based off how she just goes about her decision making. So the links are tough.
I think everybody that passed on her is regretting it now. I think, I know they wanted to team up Paige Becker's teammate from UConn, but they had an opportunity to take and they passed on her. And
You don't. So the reason why, okay, so here to answer that, Olivia Miles is more of a true point guard where she's like the facilitator and the table setter. Az Fudd, while she can play the guard position, she's more of just like, look, give me the ball in my spot and I'm shooting it. She is a pure shooter, and you already got Paige, and Paige is the real point guard in that squad. So, I don't think that would have been a good fit.
Okay. All right. Listen, man. Listen. You might need a center, but when you have the opportunity to take Michael Jordan, you pass on the center and take Michael Jordan. That's what I'm saying here. Okay. That's who I think this girl is that you just said, Olivia. That's who I think she is. She is legit. And you just said she'll shake guys up. So these players in the WNBA, they ain't got no chance on it with her, man. She's something to watch. I agree with you. Felix, you got some 49er training information for us?
Yeah, so I have some more bad news coming out of San Francisco 49ers. So there were already injury issues in San Francisco. Now during training camp, they had 20 members of the roster down with injuries. So, it's training camp, preseason around that time of the year. So the roster's extended somewhat beyond what it is during the regular season, 100 players. So that being said, if you have 20 injuries, that means 1 out of every 5 people on the 49ers roster are suffering some kind of injury. So first off, I wish them all a speedy recovery, but at the same time, that's an astronomical number of injuries. And the whole substation thing, people are saying it's a joke or what have you. But they actually did some research. There might actually be some merit. There is actual merit to say that possibly being that close to a substation with the amount of electricity conducted, not to mention you have to remember that the human body can conduct electricity as well. So maybe the stadium's not, or the practice facility's not properly insulated, whatever. But again, there's some issue. Maybe they have to look at the training staff. Is the training staff doing a good job? Because sometimes that could be the issue. I mean, I'm a Washington fan. I know firsthand the difference a bad training staff and a good training staff make on the health of your team. So that being said, there's really a lot to look into with the San Francisco 49ers. And I would definitely say that if they do more research regarding this substation right next to the stadium, they might have to consider finding some sort of temporary relocation for their training camp. And there, it's not as difficult as it may sound because NFL teams can train at college campuses, what have you. It's been done in the past. It's really nothing new. Or maybe at their own stadium, as the Titans and the Patriots do. But that being said, I'm just hoping for speedy recovery for all players impacted.
Okay. All right, guys, let's get to our trivia question today. Who's the
Oh,
first? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Troy.
I was just gonna say something about
Go,
the 49ers.
go ahead, Troy. I'm sorry.
This is separate, not having to do with not having to do with the injury report, but more so Brandon Ayuk. Now, I want to ask you this as a 49er fan. Brandon Ayuk is in a position where if he just does what's right and swallows his pride and apologizes and just becomes humble, he has a chance to join back to a team that could really use his help. If he got his mind right and truly humbled himself to say, "I apologize. What I've been doing for the past year is wrong," would you welcome him back to the team and to pair him up with Debo Samuel, Mike Evans, and Christian Kirk?
Uh, I think this guy's burned his bridge in San Francisco. One of the reasons that they got rid of Debo was because they decided that they were going to break down and pay Brandon Ayuk. So when they gave him the money that at this point they didn't really feel like he had showed, but they didn't want because of his potential, they didn't want to lose him. So they broke down and gave him the money, but they couldn't pay him and Debo. So they let Debo go. And then after they paid him, okay, all right, it's not his fault that he got injured, okay? But the following year, after he come off the injury, he basically just shone the 49ers. Uh, the 49ers have always been a traditional great sports organization to play for in professional sports, and people know this. There are organizations and teams you do not want to play for. That's just a fact. And then there are organizations that you really do want to play for. And the 49ers happen to be one of those organizations. They do a really good job of taking care of their players as far as the facilities and their travel. 49ers are renowned for really spoiling their players. And so he's in almost football heaven being a 49er. And he basically just showed, I don't know what's going on with that guy's head, but I think he's burned bread. As a matter of fact, I think it's one of the reasons because, initially it was supposed to be Brandon Ayuk coming to the Washington Commanders. But the way he hung the 49ers out to dry, it kind of reminds me of how Johnson ended his career in Tampa Bay when they told him, we're going to pay you, but we want you to go home. Okay, you go home. We're not trading you. You're out of the NFL. We're going to pay you to go home. And that's kind of like where Brandon Ayuk is with the 49ers. And because of that, there was like, we're not going to reward you and let you go to Washington where you want to go. So why would I reward you, when your whole attitude and disposition has been one of disrespect? So
Can I?
yes, they could use him, but I don't think they will, Troy. Go ahead.
So we all know people who tolerate other people's nonsense, even though they know they shouldn't, and they stay with them for reasons that are unknown. I want you to follow me here, right?
Okay.
Everybody ain't built the same. George Kittle said it best. He saw that man run 21 plus miles an hour and then stop on a dime 20 yards down the field. There's not a lot of people on this planet that can do that. So with that said, I'm looking at this as, he broke up with the woman, and the woman knows that he ain't no good, but he provides something that a lot of other men can't. Does it follow me, right? And a lot of times you see women make bad decisions on going back to guys that they shouldn't be with just because of what they can provide that the good guy can't. I think Brandon Ayuk is good enough to where even with all the bad that comes with it, his play outshines that. So I think it would be dumb if they brought him back, but if they did, can you imagine what that would do for your offense?
Yeah, it would be a situation that the Commanders find themselves with two, with a 1A and a 1B wide receiver. But do you want to put up with the nonsense? And the people who are in charge, the GM, the head coach, he's rubbed them the wrong way. And you guys know this. The chemistry, especially in football, the chemistry on your team is so important. And I've heard you say this a lot yourself, Troy. Get rid of the cancer in the locker room. And he's absolutely been a cancer in the locker room. They gave that guy the money. They gave him his bag, and then he basically mooned them. Okay, and uh, men don't like that. I'm not going to say what I really want to say, but I'm just going to say men don't like that, especially when it's coming from other type of men. Okay, you guys are following me on this. Okay, and at some point, people overlook things because of your talent and your skills. Uh, but as soon as that starts to wane, you just can't do everything that you want to do. There's a right way to do things. There's a wrong way to do things, and he's clearly done the wrong things in San Francisco. And yes, they could use him. There's no doubt about him. Every team in the NFL could use his talent, but they're not bringing him back. I don't think so. The answer is I don't think so. No. Uh-uh. Okay, let's get to our trivia question. Who was the first NFL player to score 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl? Okay, Felix, Troy, you guys want to take your shot now?
This is a shot in the dark, but I'm gonna say John Riggins.
John Riggins, Riggo. Felix?
Okay, so I know I'm not going to be giving two guesses. I want to
You
say
can have
Doug
two
Williams.
guesses.
Also want to. Okay, really? Okay, if
Yeah.
I can get two guesses, I'm going to say Doug Williams or Marcus Allen.
Okay, Doug Williams or Marcus Allen. Okay, do we have the answer up?
Mhm.
Okay, the answer is Roger Craig. You guys know how I like to do that kind of. The first player in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl is Roger Craig. Roger Craig was the first NFL player to score these 3 TDs in a single Super Bowl. He achieved this milestone in Super Bowl 19 on January 20th, 1985, recording 1 rushing touchdown and, as you might have guessed, 2 receiving touchdowns in a 38-16 victory over the Miami Dolphins and Dan Marino. Roger is a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Uh, in 2019, is that 2023 and 2024? And Super Bowls. And he was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame this past weekend on August 8th. If you remember this Super Bowl, everybody was talking about Dan Marino. This was Dan Marino's second year in the league, and he lit the league up with 5,000 yards. He threw for 48 touchdowns. And the only person working up the Super Bowl week, they were the media was talking about was Dan Marino. Now, across the hall was Joe Montana. So you're going to talk Dan Marino all day long when you got the GOAT on the other side of the field. Now, just for the record, Joe Montana won the MVP, but this is one of those situations where it really should have been a co-MVP with Roger Craig getting his 3 touchdowns. So the answer to the trivia question is Roger Craig, and you guys know how I like to do that, how I like to tie that in with one of our
The
subjects.
answer was in the reading, and I still got it wrong. The irony.
There you go. There you go. Sometimes the answer is right in front of you, man. As usual, Felix and Troy, you guys were spot on, man. When I was putting this show together, when I was writing the show, I was thinking to myself, man, you ain't gonna have to work on this one, man. You ain't got to do no whole lot of research. Just turn it over to them Commander fans, and and they'll get it done for you. Hey, listen, don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube and hit that like bell, please. I'm sorry we dropped off of Facebook for you guys that was watching on Facebook. If you're enjoying the content and you'd like to bless our ministry, you can sow into the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk by Cash Apping us at $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. Again, that's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And don't forget to check out our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. You can also email us at info@tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang. For a dynamic, in-depth sports analysis and highlights for sports in the DMV and more, check out the Washington Sports Dance on Saturdays on WBGR with my main man, Mr. Felix Bassey. His future's so bright, Troy, he wears glasses at night. I'm a poet and don't know it. Man, time flies when you're having fun. We're out of time here, but we sure do thank you for spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour out an abundance of blessings down on you that there won't be room enough to contain it all as you live off the overflow and step boldly into the realm of grace. God wants to introduce you to abundance. God wants to introduce you to abundance. Remember, if you want it, you got to confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the cross and that he rose on the third day, not necessarily a Thursday, just for you. Hey, gang, Tom the Bomb wants to leave you with a thought today. Duct tape may patch a lot of things, but 3 nails fixed everything. Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. America got to hold on to that. May God bless you guys. We'll see you guys next week at this same bat time on this same bat station. Felix, Troy, you guys were great. Say good night, guys.
Night, everybody.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Tom the Bomb, Felix, Troy, out.
This is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
Well, I'm coming out with a word in my mouth, filled with excitement to say what it's all about. For a long time, I've held this water in, let the floodgates open, let the miracles begin. I've prayed, and I've gone back 7 times, look again, cause the miracles of mine stir the water. I'm about to step in like the pool of Bethesda, let the healing begin.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
It took a minute to get my composure right. For years it seems like I've been fighting for my life. Confusing times when my days resemble nights. But now this eagle is about to take flight and soar out of darkness to its revelation light. Though the waves are rough, I step out my comfort zone to walk on water, cause I know I'm not alone. God's got my back and reminds me I'm his own. His words are sweet in my mouth, they taste like a honeycomb. And faith has opened up my eyes. I've been through the fire, tested and tried. As I study God's word, I finally realize that my purpose I have to visualize, to bring the unseen from the realm of under night until I walk into the fullness of a purpose-filled life. Cause I'm light. Yes, I am light, and I shine bright. I am an investment of the Lord Jesus Christ. Not only am I light, I am salt. When I enter in, I add flavor to it all. I bring truth, there's no dispute. Jesus is the vine, and in him I take root. I am the head, and not the tail. I'm an overcomer, made free to prevail. A new design, a special kind. Ambassador followed by wonders and signs. I am light, and I give sight, leading lost souls to his glorious light. I am light.